Hello friends, today we'll look into item 19 of Effective Java. So this is regarding using interface only to define types. So interface are mainly to expose the APIs to the outside world. So their main purpose is to expose the behavior, and we will have specific implementations for those interfaces in our project. So that is the main intention behind having interfaces. But many of you might have seen that interfaces wherein some constants are defined. So mainly if you want some global constants, people used to tend to use interfaces for that purpose. But that is not recommended. We will see what could be the drawbacks of that approach. So for the discussion's sake, let's say I want to have an classes representing some geometrical shapes, and let's say all those geometrical shapes um, have some constants. Let's say circle, it wants to print the circle as its shape name and square and so on. So for these all string constants, let's say I want to create a interface. Let's say I will name this as shape constants. So let me define few constants here. So as you can see, this interface contains two string constants. So this interface basically created just to hold constants. And so this is not a recommended practice. Okay, this is an anti-pattern and we should not use this. Okay, we will see why, what are the drawbacks of this. Okay, we should not define constants. We should not define interfaces just only for constants, right? So if I want to use this interface, what I can do, okay, let me just create a class called circle. Okay, so what I can do, probably I can implement this shape constants, then I would say print shape. Probably what I want to do is I want to print the circle, right? This is the shape name. So what is the issue with this? As such, we don't see any issue, like we can just print the circle constants, and tomorrow let's say we have another special class like special circle. Um, let's say I have a sphere which extends circle, and I want to do something here, right? So in this case, let's say I want to have some like print shape or something like that, right? Now if you see, I'm able to see this constant circle, which is not actually applicable to this class sphere. So this is an implementation detail for this class circle. So by implementing this interface, we are exposing the implementation detail of this particular class to external world, right? So this class, which is extending circle, is able to see this implementation detail. Okay, so this is one of the main drawback of defining constants within an interface. Okay, this is an anti-pattern. So we should not be using interfaces only to define constants, right? So what are the alternatives rather than using interface to define constants? So we can have simple utility classes to define constants. So let's convert this interface into a utility class, right? Utility class to define export constants, right? So how will you define? And this class, since it's only to define constants, we should prevent the instantiation of this class using the private constructor. So that's it. So this will make this class a utility class, right? So now if I want to use this in the class circle, so what are the changes I need to do? I need not have this implements, and what I can do here, I want to print circle, right? So I shape constants, shape so why I'm not able to access here. So this should be public static probably want to have final. So I have the access to the constants here. Let's say I want to print circle here, and I want to print shape constants. Let's say I want to print sphere, right? I want to print sphere there. So now as you can see, it looks more cleaner, and we are not exposing the implementation details to the outside world. So if you want, we can change the modifier to public, or we can make it as protected so that it is visible only within the packages of our project and it is not exposed to the outside world. And if you think that we are repeating these shape constants everywhere, so then you can have it as a static import, and we can have the static imports like this, import static. So we can have the constants variables here. So it makes very much simple using the constants. So in summary, for defining constants, prefer using utility classes rather than using interfaces. Thank you.